Hello everyone, this is Gwydion, and today's video is not a Voicemeeter video. I know it looks that way because I have Potato up, which many of you are familiar with. But in today's video, I'm going to show you an alternative to Voicemeeter called ASIO Link Pro. Now, many of you that have watched my videos have seen me do a lot of tutorials of how to use Voicemeeter with Sirenscape and other programs to stream audio to players. And I've loved Voicemeeter. I still like Voicemeeter a lot. However, I stumbled across another program, and this program has been around for years. It has a backstory. Unfortunately, the developer who created this program, Odious ASIO Link Pro, passed away many years ago, and his nephew received the rights to it. He was willed the rights to the program, and he worked with a third party to make the program available for free with a patch. So in this video, I'm not going to show you how to download it and install it. I'm going to show you how to set it up. I will link to other videos that show you how to install it, and briefly, I will show you. Here's the website, which I'll link below. So again, it's Odious ASIO Link Pro. It used to be a $90 software program, and now it's available for free. So I'm going to walk through and show you how I use it, and I use it in conjunction with an ASIO driver, ASIO for All, because I don't have a standalone device like a Scarlett or something like that that you all might have. So I'm just going to get right into it and show you how I use it today. So let me close, or at least minimize Voicemeeter for a second, and I'm going to pull up the program. So once you install it, actually, as you're installing it, I do want to say one thing. You'll get a pop-up like this that asks, do you want to install 16 stereo WDM devices? I would click yes, and then next, because that way you at least install all 16. Even if you don't use them all, you can always use them later. So this is the manual that comes with Odious ASIO Link Pro when you download it. So once you open the program and get it set up, you will first have to select a device. So it's before you get to this screen, but once you get to the device, you would select, in my case, ASIO for All. So I've already selected that. So now, and I'm going to put Voicemeeter up here to show you as well, just to have a little background. So you have a couple options here. Sample rate. So I've set it to 48,000, just like I set my Voicemeeter. Buffer size. Many of you know that for Voicemeeter, like if I click up here and go to my system settings options, most all of these devices have a buffer of about 512. I usually use WDM for my Voicemeeter settings. So, but in this case, I've set it to 128, and then I only set up 4 input and output channels, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. But basically, you can do up to 64 if you saw that. So you have up to 64 inputs and outputs. And so each of them are in pairs. So you'll have a 1 and a 2, one for left and one for right for stereo sound. Okay, there's a bunch of options here. I'll only go through some of these. I do select Start Minimize and Start ASIO because I want this on all the time. So it'll be red. You can click it green, and I want it to start with my Windows. I don't check for updates because this is not going to be patched. This is not actively updated at all anymore, but it seems to be running just fine for me. And auto set audio waveformat, I think that just automatically sets the rates. So if you think about the kilohertz and the bit rate, and then auto set as default audio device. I'll show you that with the default audio device. It's kind of like instead of Voicemeeter input, it sets up its own default device. I'll show you that. Allow 32-bit PCM format. I do not have checked because I want everything at 24-bit. So I don't want anything to change and be at 32-bit. Okay, so once you have all this set, then you're going to start ASIO. And when you first get to this screen, before you set anything up, you're going to have a bunch of these links. You can see these lines are actually links between different aspects of the program. I'm going to get rid of them all just so I can set it up and show you how easy this is, although it looks intimidating. All right, close all the links. Okay, so let me show you a few things here. I have show audio flow because that actually shows these connections. And enable multi-clients, that's important because by checking this, I use another program that I'll show you called Audio Movers to send sound to my players. And I can actually set up a completely separate ASIO link just with that separate program to send sound to my players. So ASIO link, this is how I'm going to hear sound. Like right now, you're hearing my voice, but I don't have anything going through here yet. You see this GA Collective here when I hover over it. In the line right below, it says patched by GA Collective, enjoy. That means I've got it installed and it's all correct. So make sure it says that. And I'm using ASIO for all. Okay, you do have a couple of panels here. Your ASIO control panel. Okay, so this is my ASIO for all. It might default to one of your Voicemeeter programs, or it might default to this ASIO Pro driver. You want to change that and uncheck it by checking on this power button right here and turn on, like for me, it's my Realtek audio. That's the only thing I have selected, right? Over here, the only thing I've done, and maybe read, and if there's something else you want to do over here, I just say always resample from 44 to 48 because I know I want 48 kilohertz. Okay. And then buffer size, depending on what you've done over here, this might start at like 256 or 512. Just move it to where it's consistent with what it says over here and see what works for you. Right now, 128 seems to work for me. Okay, so that's that. WinMM control panel, if you click on that, it's going to be on my other screen, but I'll pull it over. So this is Windows Sound Devices. So let me walk through this. So when you first launch the program, if you remember, we had 16 WDM devices. So I'm in playback. I've renamed these to make it simpler for me. But when you first get it, the drivers are going to show up like this, speakers, and it's going to be 01 through 016. So it'll say speakers, the number, and then ASIO VA Pro driver. And then I've disabled all of these I'm not using right now to clean things up. But I've also renamed what I want each of these playback devices to be. So this will always be set as your default. If you set it for your default, like I did, auto set as default audio device, it's going to be 01. The way to think about that is just like Voicemeeter input. Just like we do for Voicemeeter, you'll set Voicemeeter input as your default playback. This will set this as your default playback. And I'll do more to explain that, but that's the start. Recording devices, it's going to set these mix. So you're going to have 16 of these mix devices again. And it's going to set mix 1 as your default device. I've kept my default communication device as my Yeti Nano, which is what I'm recording on right now. Okay, so let's come back to this for a second. Okay, so if you know Voicemeeter, you know that you get 5 hardware inputs, which are these sections right here, and then you get 3 virtual inputs, right? And then you get, you have your main hardware outs over here, and then you have your virtual devices, and I can show you down here your virtual outputs, right? You have 3 virtual outputs. So think about that. We're now getting 16 virtual inputs and 16 virtual outputs. Let that sink in for a second. That's a ton. So if you come back over here to the ASIO Link Pro, you can see if I hover over it, it'll it gets rid of it. But if I'll put my arrow right underneath it, so the mix is ASIO 48,000 kilohertz or hertz, 48 kilohertz, and the buffer is 110. You can see, or 128. My latency is 10.7 seconds. So let's talk about the sections here. Okay, this ASIO VAD Pro speakers in. So these, I know these are all numbered 1, 2 all the way across. These are your 16 virtual input devices. So if I open Windows Control Panel and I bring it over, so this where it says 01, 02, 03 is going to correspond to however you want to set these up. Okay, so in my case, I wanted to make sure I knew which was which. So I said 01 is desktop, so that's going to be my main. So my main playback device is going to come in here. So all this whole line, speakers in, is all of your inputs. Okay, and I've disabled a bunch of them, but it shows all 16. And then what we're going to basically do is make connections to say, where do we want to play these? Think of the ASIO driver Outmix as your hardware out. At least that's what makes sense to me. So if I make a connection between these playback devices up here down to here, then I will actually start hearing the sound, because this is going to be my main headset. That's what this is. Basically, it's your main out on your computer. So if I start playing for a second, I'm just going to play a Unity video, Fantasy Grounds. So I'm not hearing that. You should be, and I can see that the sound is going up. So as you see that, let me pause that for a second. So if I make a connection, so if I take these first two inputs and drag them down, I'm left clicking and holding to my Outmix. And that's all I need to do. And if I play that again real quickly,
sight on them,
you're hearing it. Now I'm hearing it, and you can see the connection. So you can see that made the connection and it started playing immediately. Now, if you think about Voicemeeter, most of you or many of you may know that with your sound playback devices, if you double click and go to your levels, you can't use this to affect your playback in Voicemeeter, your volume. You can in ASIO Link Pro. So this does have an impact on my output. So you can change the volume of playback here, and it will absolutely make a difference, and you'll hear it in the volume. However, in addition, so I can set up any programs over here, right? And each of them can have its own individual input. So I've selected Sirenscape as 03, and I've already got it up on my other screen, and I've got it set to playback through 03. But what I'm going to do is, so this is my first, second, and here's my third. So if I pull this down, and actually I think I have, do I have Sirenscape going? I hope not. No, I don't. Good. You're not hearing anything yet. But if I pull down here and I play something from Sirenscape, then I will now hear it. Let's do that for a second. It might be a little loud, but we'll see. So I know you heard it because I have it going straight to OBS, but now I heard it because I have it going down here. So, but what's really interesting is, so you have a main volume here, this 0 decibels. If I want to lower everything, so any inputs I have in here, any of my playback devices, if I want to lower them all, I left click and hold and drag down, and that will lower that entire mix. I'm going to put it back to 0 decibels. But you also have these other mix buttons. So if you look at the Outmix, it's going to be a little bit intimidating to start. But you see all these inputs and outputs, but it's really not that hard. Let me drag it over here for a second. So all of these inputs on the vertical column here, 1 to 2, match up with all of these, okay, with your speakers in. The 4 up top just correspond to the Outmix. So if you look here, I've got my main desktop, 1, 2, connected to my headset. And then I've got 1, 2, I count 3 down. I know these are Sirenscape. So if instead of changing all my volume, I want to only lower Sirenscape, I can left click and hold here and drag it down. And you see how it changed up top? So I can lower that to 10 decibels below or whatever I want to do. But it's that easy to change the individual volume for each input. So my desktop and Sirenscape. And that's right now. So if I wanted to use Discord, and you can see I have Discord set, I would just map the output of Discord. So I won't pull that up now. I'll show that to you later. But basically, I'll do that in another video. But all you'd have to do is map Discord, which I've done here. And again, map it down here, and I will hear the players' voices. So now I'm going to hear desktop sounds, Discord, and the player voices. Now, right now, you're hearing things through OBS because I've mapped individually in OBS. And let me, for a moment, take off the preview and show you. But I've mapped down here each individual input. And you've seen this on some of my other videos, but like if we check Sirenscape and look at properties. So I've got a ton of different options that I can select, but I'm selecting Sirenscape directly. So what that means is, again, I don't even have to do anything other than it's going to play directly from here without me having to make any connection because I'm doing it directly from the playback device that I've set up into OBS. Pretty cool, pretty simple, but pretty darn effective. So the other thing before I get into audio movers, so if you think about all of these as being mixes, now I have this master Outmix. It's going to my headset. But if I wanted to then send it out to like a stream, what I could do is drag this down to this last section down here. I won't go through the network section because just like VBAN, you can actually send this out over a network and set it up and to another computer. But this mix here, think about this bottom section here as, again, your virtual outs. So if you think about B1 in Voicemeeter and sending that out to the stream, you could send this Pro Mix out into OBS. If that's all you wanted to do is just have all these inputs and you wanted that to go straight out to OBS, you could have all of your mix and then separately send your mic out. But your entire mix would be in and it would go out to this one channel, which would be Mix 1. I know that's a lot of information, but pretty darn cool. Okay, the next thing we're going to show, and then I'll have to cut this video off after this, is I'm going to show you how iStream sounds, which is audio movers. Now I'm going to open audio movers, and the really neat thing, because I've selected this enable multi-clients, when I open this program, it's going to open up another entire instance of ASIO Link. So we're opening the tool right now. Shouldn't affect what you hear. But now you see this other interface, and you can see here it says listen to. So for now, I'm going to close this. It's just going to minimize it, but I'm going to close it because I want to show you how to have this set up. So I'm going to drag over my audio movers. We can kind of close this. You've seen this now. So the way I have audio movers set up, and I'll link to this as well, is in my settings. So I've got the driver as being ASIO, right? ASIO Link Pro, not ASIO for all, but I want to run it through this ASIO Link program. And then here are all the other virtual inserts that you've seen for Voicemeeter. But ASIO Link Pro is what you want. And then everything at 48 kilohertz. And then again, this buffer size should be consistent with what you already have, which is 128. But now, so with this program, this is a paid program, as I've told you, but man, is it consistent and the quality is awesome. But you can see I'm sending this out with 0.1 second latency. So this only has 10.7 millisecond latency, as you can see here. By the time it gets through the mix, it looks like it's about 30 milliseconds. But I can send this out at anything up to PCM 32-bit, which I won't do. But I guess what I would do in mine, if I really wanted to, is uncompressed 24-bit, because that's what my my devices are set to, 24-bit. But I've decided to go ahead and compress and do the 192 kilobits, still really good quality, but I'm not eating up quite as much bandwidth. And then you can set up in here all of your individual channels. So if you look at how I have this set up over here in this section, all I had to do was I want Sirenscape only go into my players for my last session. So again, Sirenscape is 1, 2, 3 over. It's my third input. So I'm dragging that down into my host in mix. So now if I play Sirenscape, start playing a kind of some background, you should see it slowly start to build. Let's play a battle. There we go. So you can see it's coming in and out here. So basically anything that I've selected here, and actually I could probably select turn off, since this is each a single channel, I should be able to turn off the right and left if I want. And if I play that again, it'll still be in stereo. You guys hear it in stereo, but it's still going to output in stereo because it's going to go left here and the right over here. So again, this is my 1 and 2 in mix that I'm playing. So anything to these two channels. If I wanted to drag like my desktop and send that out to channels 3 and 4, I already have those set up. And it's easy to just click on these and add more channels, right? Easy enough. And I can pick, I've only got 4 mix channels, right? So 2 separate sets of stereo channels, but I could change these. I don't know if you can rename these. I think you can. I don't know. I'll have to check that. And then what I do over here basically is just log in, and then you can do have up to 40 people connected. So I might do a stream and have people listen to it directly at some point, and then I can start streaming. So literally now this will go out. Anything playing through Sirenscape is going to go out through the stream. I've tested it at the 0.1 second latency with this quality, and I'm not hearing any drops. Copy the stream link and then leave it in my, in Discord or whatever, and players immediately connect to it. And again, this is paid. It's you can test it out for a week for free. Show you. So you can test it out for free for a week, and it's called, I'm using the actual application, but you can also put this through a DAW, digital audio workstation. So if you want to, you can send this right out to a DAW. But if you go to buy, then you'll see this try now for a week. So I purchased the year. I get a lot of use out of it. So to me, it's worth it. But it's up to you if you decide whether or not it's worth it. But so let me close this down. No need to have it up again. But the nice thing is now, and I'll show you in the next video, but if you want, again, you could use this to send sound using that Discord audio pipe that you've probably seen by, now I'm going to forget his name, Amerisum, I think it is. I'll link to his video. But you can actually use this to send all your audio directly into a mix into Discord. So you could do that as well. So that's it. I'm really excited about it. I mean, I love Voicemeeter, but I have had some issues using like audio movers and duplication. And I feel like at times there are challenges with Voicemeeter with this ASIO link tool. I could set it up through a DAW. I could use a package of something like Lighthost as a VST host, and I could put in a bunch of plugins to do whatever I want. Really powerful software, and again, completely free. So I know that was a lot of information. That was a long video, but I really hope it was helpful. Shoot me a comment, ask me questions. There's not a whole lot out there on this tool. It's like I said, it's been around a long time. You'll find some setup videos, but nothing really on how to use it, like that I've seen, at least, like we're using it for Voicemeeter. So again, hope it helped you all. Comment, hit the like if you liked it, and tell me what you'd like to see next. And until next time, feel free to join my Discord or my Gilded servers, where I try to help all of you with your audio stream needs. Thanks, everyone.